Well, I fixed my audio and got a new microphone too, so enjoy. I was going to try one of my other show ideas, but honestly none of them sounded as good or as repeatable as this format, which got a positive reception, so I figured what the heck, I'll just keep it going. Welcome to Triple Scoop, a weekly roundup of movies, music, and games that I've been enjoying and my brief thoughts on them. I've mostly been watching the CNN-produced TV show The 60s on Netflix, which is an excellent look into a time period that I'm not too familiar with. But I did see Who Framed Roger Rabbit once again, also on Netflix. This is an old favorite of mine, directed by Robert Zemeckis of Forrest Gump and Back to the Future fame, produced by Steven Spielberg, and animation led by the great Richard Williams. It's a zany cartoon live-action hybrid movie about a typical 1940s hard-boiled detective snooping out the truth of a plot to take over Toontown. It takes place during the golden age of animation, and so features a ton of well-known cartoon characters, including Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse. Unlike previous efforts to combine live-action and animation, Who Framed Roger Rabbit goes to extreme lengths to sell the illusion of cartoons inhabiting the real world, including puppetry and robot arms to move props around like cartoon characters, and advanced lighting techniques, and the effect is quite striking. The movie's effects have aged quite well, although they don't compare to modern compositing techniques. Apparently we're 2 for 2 on animated movies that deal with prejudice, but it's true. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a bit more adult than typical animated movies. Beyond the mild cursing and innuendos, the movie uses the division between humans and toons as a metaphor for racial segregation in the US, with obvious references to things like the real-life Cotton Club. If you're a fan of animation, like I am, there are tons of inside jokes and clever references to other cartoons and industry insiders, and the whole movie is clearly a labor of love. If you want an entertaining noir adventure in the spirit of Back to the Future, Who Framed Roger Rabbit might be for you. This week's album is not an album per se, it's a trio of EPs by Shawn, James, and the Shapeshifters, a 5-man rock band from Fayetteville, Arkansas, who truly live up to their name. Each of these EPs is themed after a different animal: the wolf, the hawk, and the bear, with a different sound signature for each. The wolf is the softest of the three, adopting a moody, stripped-down folk sound, driven by acoustic guitar and violin. It chronicles the story of a man raised by wolves, and explores themes of loneliness, isolation, and striving for an identity and purpose. Similarly, the hawk deals with themes of vengeance and hatred from the perspective of a hawk whose wife and child are killed by ravens. To accomplish this, it puts the folk sound to work by recruiting a piano as the lead driver and adding more rock elements that at times evoke mournful remorse, and at other times, simmering rage. Finally, the bear is the most radically different of the 3 Shapeshifter EPs, relying on the heavy chords of a fuzzy slide steel guitar as the foundation for its swamp rock sound, adding harmonica and banjo to complete the mix. Shawn James's powerful, soulful vocals are on full display here. He doesn't shout into the mic, he roars into it. Rather appropriate for a bear who is seeking to die a glorious death in battle with a legendary creature even greater than he is. Of course, I recommend all 3 EPs, but if you can only listen to one, listen to The Bear, and if you can only listen to one track, listen to Chapter 2, Hunger. Shawn James has an infectiously powerful, gravelly singing voice that can be subverted to a gentle whisper in The Wolf, and it's quite incredible to see his range on display. The music is free to listen to on Bandcamp, or you can buy it there and on iTunes. If anything I've told you or you've heard sounds interesting to you, you won't be disappointed. Finally, the game of the week. It's crunch time for Screen Jumper, so I haven't played much, but I did play Killing Floor 2. I find it's quite good for simply hopping in and blowing off steam. It's a co-op horde shooter supporting up to 6 players that is still somehow inexplicably in early access, despite having a CSGO-like microtransaction system in place. To be fair, the game had a mere 4 classes and 4 maps to choose from at the start, and now has 7 classes and 9 maps, with 2 bosses and a PvP versus mode, which is more than what the original Killing Floor had at launch. On the normal difficulty, the game is great casual fun with some friends, or alone in solo mode, and the longest game length usually goes no longer than 20 or 30 minutes. The harder difficulties don't change health or damage values, but multiply the enemies and add new behaviors. They are absolutely brutal, so be warned. As a side note, Tripwire Interactive made a deal with Solid State Records to provide the soundtrack for the game, which is like half of my iTunes library. That's a particular sound of music I very much enjoy, but if you don't like it, you can disable vocals to turn every track into its instrumental version, or simply turn the music off altogether. A lot of care was given to the feel of the weapons, and the high frame rate animations feel really good during the regular slow motion segments. All of the weapons, even the starter ones, feel powerful and totally viable, except for late stage gameplay and higher difficulty levels, but by then you'll have plenty of dosh to buy whatever gun you want. Content updates have been fairly slow throughout the game's lifespan thus far, but it is definitely the most polished early access game readily available. I don't even consider it early access anymore, to be honest. If you like Killing Floor or similar wave-based co-op shooters, definitely give it a try. That wraps up this episode of Triple Scoop. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next Wednesday.